Okay, and we are live. I'm here with Brian Tuohy. How you doing, Brian?
Good. How are you doing tonight?
Doing great. Well, I definitely wanted to chat with you about the whole, NBA scandal that broke, and as far as like your opinions on that and everything. I guess before we get started, just for people who aren't, familiar with your work, do you want to just kind of talk a bit about your background and what you've written about before?
Well, everybody should be familiar with my work, first of all. Let's not kid around.
you, you
Um,
you think so?
no, I've been labeled the king of sports conspiracy theories, basically because the first book I wrote was called The Fixes In, the showbiz manipulations of the NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, NHL, and NASCAR. And then I wrote another book called Larceny Games, Game Fixing, and the FBI. And then I wrote another book called The Season in the Abyss about the NFL and its gambling. And then I wrote a sequel to the original, The Fix Is In, called The Fix Is Still In.
Mm-hmm.
And all those, I think the last book, The Fix Is Still In, came out about 5 years ago. And so
Okay.
I've been doing this I have my own website, thefixesin.net, which has been live since almost 20 years now, I think. But my
Wow.
first book came out in 2010, and that's what really kicked it all off.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting because I do see this more and more often, like when I'm scrolling through Instagram and on Twitter, people talking about like the NFL being fixed. And you were talking about this, 20 years ago, 15,
Yeah,
20 years.
I mean, I don't like to pat myself on the back, but I really, in a way, feel that I kind of kicked all this off in a way.
Yeah.
Um, Again, I don't like to take credit for it all because it's not all me by any means, but I have seen a lot of people with YouTube videos and stuff like that out there that really parrot or actually outright steal from what I've written and
Yeah.
researched and not credited for me, credited to me, I should say, at all. But yeah, I've been doing this a long time, and I mean, I actually put in research. I mean, I just don't,
Oh, yeah.
say, oh my God, this game's fixed, that game's fixed, blah, blah, blah. And you could,
Sure.
it's obvious. I've actually, like I say, I literally wound up on an FBI watch list because of all of the Freedom of Information Act requests I made to the FBI when I wrote my book, Larceny Games. So, I mean, I've dug into this unlike a lot of
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. I read the first one, absolutely loved it. And it's so detailed and so well researched. I've got the other three on my list, and I'm planning on reading them eventually.
Well, it's funny, the original Fixes In actually got edited down.
Oh,
There was a
yeah.
lot of stuff that got taken out because the publisher just thought it was too long.
Okay.
So there was things that I kind of wanted to include that you have to make cuts somewhere that got cut out.
Sure.
I don't know where it went. I don't remember what it was, but I mean, it
Yeah.
was probably a good quarter of the book got axed before publication.
Yeah, I'm curious. How did you get like involved in kind of looking into this stuff? Was there like a specific game that you're watching and you're like, "Oh my God, this has to be fixed," and you started looking into it, or was it just kind of a
Well, it was. I went to school actually for screenwriting in Columbia College in Chicago, where
Yeah,
you are,
okay,
and I was trying to work as a screenwriter for a long time. And my wife said, "Well, why don't you write a book instead of doing all these screenplays and stuff?" And so my thought was doing a book, kind of a greatest sports conspiracy thing, because I always been kind of a sports fan and always been interested in conspiracies. And so I started kind of looking into it. And what it kind of dawned on me was all these little incidents and scandals and what have you really kind of added up to one big thing. And that was that I believe that the leagues were manipulating their own games to generate more revenue and ratings
mm-hmm.
for themselves. And so I kind of went with it. And I had two books that were kind of my guides. One was called Interference by Dan Moldea,
Oh
and he
yeah,
wrote about the NFL and organized crime influenced the NFL. And he had discovered through his research back in the 80s that at least 70 some odd games have been fixed by gamblers and organized crime.
mm-hmm.
And then there was another book called They Call It a Game by Bernie Parrish, who was a former NFL player and actually worked with the Players Union for a very long time. And he, in his book, actually alluded to the fact that he thought Super Bowl III had been fixed by the league itself, and that when basically broadcast television bought into the NFL, that they literally bought the league and made it a giant television program. And
Hmm.
so I kind of merged those two influences into what became the Fixes In my research from there.
Okay, nice. Well, hey, as far as this, Chauncey Billups NBA scandal, have you been following that? And what do you?
Well, to a degree. I mean,
Yeah.
I've been doing this for so long. that I've kind of become jaded.
Yeah, yeah. I was,
And kind of,
I was wondering if your initial reaction was like
yeah.
one of surprise or one of just like,
Well,
the guy was
what
going
excited me was the fact that the FBI was involved,
on. Okay.
because I know the FBI's gotten a real bad rap over the past few years for this, that, and the other thing.
Yeah.
And much of the criticism, I think, is very valid. But the fact of the matter is, usually the FBI doesn't do what it did in terms of arrests and whatnot without having a real reason to do it. And this wasn't a case where, even though the FBI or NBA said, "Oh, we investigate ourselves and we found nothing," the FBI was like, "No, we're not going down that path again." Because you can go back and there's so many scandals, quote unquote scandals, that have happened recently where the leagues investigate themselves, and go figure, they found nothing's wrong.
Right.
Well, of course, if you have the league investigate itself, it has no investigative powers. And that's the funny thing, which I can't get my head around. ESPN and their ilk be like, "Oh, well, the NBA conducted an investigation and found nothing." What's their investigation? What investigative powers do they have?
Right.
They can't subpoena anybody. They don't get. They can't.
Go
if
through
you lie to the NBA,
records.
yeah, you can't. They have no real investigative power, but yet all the media will be like, "Well, they did it, so we don't have to do our job and investigate anything. The league did it." But I mean, you look at so many things where, like, Peyton Manning received HGH in the mail after he had his, neck surgery, but it was addressed to his wife. Well, we investigated and it's fine. Peyton Manning wasn't doing HGH. I mean, all these other things that have happened. Rick Tocchet was, running a gambling ring out of New Jersey while being a coach for the Phoenix Coyotes with Wayne Gretzky, but only Wayne Gretzky's wife bet with Rick Tocchet, not Wayne. So we don't have to worry about any of this. And I mean, it just time and again, these things happen. Even Shohei Ohtani. Oh, well, his, interpreter was, stole millions of dollars from him and betted illegally, but Shohei wasn't involved yet.
Yeah.
Major League Baseball investigated it.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
that's what they always said about Clemens and the whole HGH thing, too. It went to his wife.
Mm-hmm. Same thing, but that's the thing. The leagues investigate themselves. They find nothing, and everybody goes, well, I guess there's nothing to be found.
Right.
So that's the one thing about this that had me excited was the FBI did some investigation, and now they've done some arrests, and now we'll see what really happened.
Yeah, well, I was really curious about that too. Do you think it's going to get much bigger and kind of snowball from here, or do you think this will be the extent of it? Yeah,
I think it will.
Yeah.
Well, I would think. I mean, the mob guy. First of all, I'm kind of surprised that the mob is around.
Yeah.
I mean, you haven't heard much about organized crime and mafia for decades.
Long time, yeah.
And also, it's like, well, they're involved with organized crime. I was like, what?
Yeah.
That's interesting. But I would think, could be wrong, but I think Billups, Jones, and who's the other guy?
Rozier.
Yeah. I would think if there's other players or people involved, that they would be very willing to go, how much time can I save off my record? What can I do to get out of this? Who can I point the finger at?
Absolutely.
And fingers will start pointing and things will start changing. And more dominoes very well may fall from this.
Right. And that's kind of the general belief on like Twitter and social media is Gilbert Arenas is kind of the one who kicked it all off because he got arrested about 4 months ago for running a gambling poker games at his house. Yeah. And then he was very vocal. He has a podcast and he was very vocal. Like, I'm snitching. Like, I'm not spending a day in jail.
And I don't blame him. But I mean, the funny thing is which people have completely forgot about, is you go back to the 1980s, Isaiah Thomas of the Detroit Pistons and other members of the Pistons were involved in illegal dice games in Detroit. People don't talk about that. People completely erase that from memory that ever happened. And then there's, of course, Michael Jordan and the fact that he owed, millions of dollars in gambling debts from golf, some of which went to a known cocaine dealer that got wiped under the rug the minute, Michael Jordan, quote, retired from basketball. And, this isn't the first time this thing has happened in the NBA. And it had to be happening between then and the 1980s and now here in 2025. There had to be other instances of this, but you need something like the FBI to uncover it because, again, the leagues aren't going to do it. And sports media, they're in bed with the leagues now. They don't do investigative reporting anymore. Not at all. So what are they going to do?
Right. Yeah, I was curious. So you mentioned the Dan Moldea book. And I've read that one as well. I absolutely loved that book. And then there was another one you mentioned. Do you know of any other like writers or video
No.
creators or whatnot who kind of get into this?
There,
No.
there was a couple of books probably in the 90s. And I'm gonna forget what they were called. There was one on the NBA and one on the NFL. They're kind of hard to find, but they were mainstream books that talked about some of the criminality in both the NBA and the NFL. God, I think Dan Yeager might have been one of the authors. It was two authors.
Okay.
God, I wish I could remember. I'm sure I got it somewhere on my bookshelf, actually, to be honest. But those two guys did some good research and some digging into, again, the criminals who play in the NFL and the NBA who kind of, all that got swept under the rug so they could keep playing. But, I mean, since then, I think we've seen sports media turn. I mean, turn in a big way where now it's about gambling. Now it's about all the rah-rah stuff and all the happy fun times. And anything investigative is just non-existent, especially since, Sports Illustrated completely imploded a while ago and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you have maybe some of that stuff like on The Athletic, but not like it used to be. And again, why would you? If, you're NBC or ABC, Disney or ESPN or anybody, you invest billions of dollars into the NBA and into the NFL, what's your motivation to investigate all the bad stuff going on in those leagues and then publicize it?
Right.
You just shoot yourself in the foot and destroy your own investment. So why would you do that?
Exactly.
There's no reason to do it.
Yeah,
and that's the big problem is they're so in bed together. And then you add the gambling aspect on top of it now where especially like Disney and ESPN with ESPN Bet are making money off of that. It just gets worse and worse and worse.
I mean, it amazes me that there are like shows on ESPN and Fox Sports and whatnot that are just about gambling. That are just like point spreads and like take this prop bet, do that. I mean, it's the whole like legalization of the gambling just really it's crazy how much money is involved.
And I wasn't against the legalization by any means.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a good thing because I think that helped bring what just happened in the NBA to light. Because that's the same thing that's happened in Europe, which most people never pay attention to, is when they had legalized gambling. What happens in Europe with tennis and soccer and rugby and cricket is when they see strange activity within the gambling markets, they'll flag it, they'll investigate it, and it's led to arrests and it's led to convictions for game fixing and that sort of thing in Europe. But we don't hear about it in the United States at all. I mean, there was just something like 230 Turkish soccer referees were found to be gambling on the games in which they officiated.
Really?
Did anybody hear about the United States? No. But that basically means the entire Turkish soccer league was corrupt. I mean, the entire Indian Premier Cricket League is incredibly corrupt, where they were fixing matches left, right, and all over the place. I mean, if you look around the world, it's been going on nonstop for decades. And here in the United States, we think, our sports are safe. Nothing will ever happen here.
Right.
Oh, the athletes make too much money. Well, look at the NBA scandal. That just proved all that to be wrong.
Exactly. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned tennis, and I can't remember if I read this in your book or if I just stumbled upon it online. But tennis is actually the number one most gambled sport in the world.
I don't know if it's up there. I don't know if it's
really
number one. It's one of the top three. I think like horse racing, soccer, and tennis are the three most. But yeah, tennis is incredibly gambled.
That's incredible to me. And you want to talk about a sport that would be so easy to fix. You can. I mean, it's not a team sport or anything like that.
No,
like you just
and it is fixed.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like boxing because all you got to do get one person and you're golden.
Exactly. Yeah.
And the thing is, and it's the same with this NBA scandal because they do what they call spot fixing in tennis. And for people who don't know, you can bet in tennis. You can bet on literally like every serve.
Can you
bet
really?
On everything.
Okay,
yeah, you can bet on every like micro action within the game, within the set, within the match. And so what they can do is they can tell or work with the tennis player and say, look, you don't have to lose the match. We want you to lose the second game of the second set. And we'll give you $10,000.
Sure, yeah.
And so if you lose that one game, it doesn't cost you the whole match by any means. You can win the match in 3 straight sets. But if you lose that match, you can make more money than you can playing in that tournament.
Sure, yeah.
And that's the problem is like prize money in tennis is really so relegated to like the top 10, top 20 players in the world that people actually be on the tennis tour losing money. Well, if you got people trying to travel the world to become great tennis players losing money, how long can they last? So in comes to betting, in comes to gambling, in comes these spot fixes, and it's very hard to detect because
Sure.
it is, blow the first 3 serves in this match, this, game, this set, blah, blah, blah. Who's going to know? You did it on purpose
Exactly.
or it just happened.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, this was a pretty good comment that someone left about just like the owners of a lot of these NFL teams and NBA teams. So many of them have like really interesting histories.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of them, especially like the original NFL owners, like all just rich oil money,
Gamblers.
gamblers. Yeah, Carol
I mean,
Rosenblum. I've talked to him
well,
about
you
him
can
before.
go further back. The Mara family, which still owns the Giants today, the John Mara, I think it was John Mara, was the original founder. He was a bookmaker. That's how he made his money.
Really?
He was a bookie. And the Rooney family, which still owns the Steelers to this day, were Art Rooney was a known gambler. And the Rooney family and the Mara family intermarried within each other,
Yeah, Rooney
which a
Mara.
lot
I
of people
think.
don't know. And
Yeah.
Bidwell, which still owns the Cardinals, who ran booze and alcohol with Al Capone when they were the Chicago Cardinals. That's how they got their start. I mean, so
Wow.
yeah, the criminality in the NFL goes literally back to the 1920s when it
I
started.
know there's a lot with like the Bartolo, I think is the family.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because they're the one family. Even Major League Baseball is like, yeah, no, wait, you can't join
Yeah.
us.
I think like
That's
the
how corrupt they
original.
were. If Major League Baseball tells you to go away, you know you got some problems.
Yeah, even like the owners of the New York Giants originally, didn't they own like the whole Meadowlands horse or the dog racing
Yeah, I think they were
complex
involved.
or
Yeah, with the
something
horse
along
track in
that?
there too.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's a
interesting.
lot of shady people involved in sports, but sports makes them legitimate.
Yeah,
That's the
sure.
thing. Legitimizes your money. It legitimizes who you are. Well, I want a sports team, but then you do stuff like in the NBA and you tank games and you make yeah. Are the owners really on that much on the up and up? I don't know.
One of my favorite little intriguing facts about sports owners is the Hunt family who own, they own the Chiefs now. But there was a meeting at their house the night before in Dallas, Texas, the night before JFK was murdered. Have you talked
Oh,
about that before? Or
not really, because I don't know the
okay.
details. I don't know if anybody really knows the true
Yeah,
details of it all.
it's
But yeah, it is. It
super
is
interesting.
kind of interesting that they owned. I think they were known as the Dallas Texans before they became the Chiefs. Moved to
Okay.
Kansas City. I think they're the Dallas Texans with the AFL. And
Okay.
yeah, you're right. The Hunt family was loosely, maybe even more so, connected to the JFK assassination, which is, like you
Yeah,
say, is pretty intriguing when you think
it
about it.
is. It is. So as far as I mean, the things that really interest me personally are just like these older stories, that they've kind of been forgotten about, like you hit on earlier. Can you think of any like good, like older, like really interesting stories that you're shocked that
Well,
didn't become like really big stories?
here's the so I don't know how deep you want to go, but so my book Larceny Games, like I said, is based on these FBI files that I obtained through the Freedom of Information Act. It's stuff that nobody had ever accessed before. Okay, I was the first person to get it, and I got, like, as far as I could tell, all of it, which is why I wound up on a watch list because the FBI kind of got tired of me and I was bugging them. But and it was funny actually. Never mind. You can skip that part. But anyway, so one of the things that was included in these FBI files, there was several files that related to the NBA, which said it never had a game fixed since 1954. Major League Baseball, which says it hasn't had a game fixed since the White Sox in 1919, and the NFL, which says it's never had a game fixed ever. But like in these files, I mean, like for the NBA, since we're talking about the NBA, I mean, in the files it stated that Mendy Rudolph is one of the legendary NBA officials. I mean, he literally, I'm not exaggerating, literally wrote the NBA officials guidebook.
Okay.
Okay. He's mentioned the FBI files as betting on games in which he officiated. Nobody wanted to hear that.
Wow. Yeah.
Also in the FBI files, it's mentioned that Bill Russell, we all know Bill Russell, right? With all his rings, he likes to
Oh
flash,
yeah.
passed away. And Will Chamberlain, who everybody knows, slept with 10,000 women or whatever his claim to fame was. Well, Bill Russell and Will Chamberlain worked together to bet on games in which they played against each other. The FBI knew this. The FBI had evidence that both of them were gambling on games in which they played. The FBI gave this evidence to the NBA because the FBI said, our job isn't to police the NBA. Our job is to police crimes. And then betting on themselves isn't breaking the law that exists, because the law called the Sports Bribery Act, which was passed in 1964, says it's illegal to bribe someone to, a player, coach, referee, to fix the outcome of a game. But if you're just a player betting on yourself, you're not exactly breaking a crime. So the FBI gave it to the information to the NBA and walked away. But here I had evidence direct from the FBI files, not making it up, not, pulling it out of thin air, not conspiracy theory stuff, that 3 legends of the NBA, legendary official, 2 of their legendary players, were betting on games which they should played in, should be kicked out of the Hall of Fame tomorrow.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted to hear it.
Wow.
Nobody still wants to hear it. When this book came out back in 2013, my publisher and I were contacted by ESPN, Yahoo Sports, HBO Sports. I had interviews with the producers from 60 Minutes. Sports Illustrated said they were going to run an excerpt from my book in their magazine, and nobody did anything with any of it.
Really?
Nope. They ignored it all. Oh, we also had NFL players, Hall of Fame NFL players that were the FBI knew were gambling on games, guys like George Blanda, Len Dawson, and others. Nobody wanted to hear it. All disappeared.
Wow. That's crazy. And then you talk about like Pete Rose, who, he got busted,
but they still want to put him in the Hall of Fame.
They
still want to put that guy in the Hall of Fame. You have one rule, the cardinal rule baseball. And every locker room, rule number 1, don't bet on baseball. Pete Rose broke that rule. Well, let's put him in the Hall of Fame because he got 4,000 hits.
Well, that's what I liked about your book is, a lot of these cases, like the Pete Rose case, like, familiar with the basics, like heard of it and kind of know the general story. But a lot of them are like really crazy, like really connections to some really shady people and like really wild stuff that went down.
Well, that's the thing with this NBA scandal that's happening now. Here you had 3 NBA players, coaches, whatever, at least 3, connected to organized crime, known criminals.
Mm-hmm.
You go back, like you say, with the stuff I did with the FBI and their Freedom of Information Act files I obtained, they had numerous athletes, not even these Hall of Fame guys, but other guys were connected to these crazy, shady mafia people or bookmakers or what have you. Way back when Len Dawson was accused of gambling, which I hate to say it, but I'm pretty certain he was gambling on games which he played, shaving points and whatnot. Right before Super Bowl IV, when the Chiefs beat the Vikings, there was a bust on this guy named Dice Dawson, who was a gambler, sports gambler. In possession of Dice's stuff, they found like a little black book. In it, they found the name of something like 12 or 14 NFL quarterbacks with their phone numbers. One of which was Len Dawson, no relation, but they were supposed to communication. They asked Len, do you know Dice Dawson? He said, oh yeah, we've talked several times. So here's a known gambler, known bookie, a guy known for fixing games, although nobody will admit to it. And he had the name of something like half the league's quarterbacks in his little black book.
Wow.
And the NFL and, law enforcement just went, and let it go. Because they didn't want to dig into it.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because even back then, the players just made no money. And so,
everybody says no money. They made money.
Yeah.
You went to play. If you weren't making money, you went to play it.
Yeah. Right? You made money, but a lot of them, I've always heard at least that a lot of them had like jobs in the off season and things like that. Like, so it's definitely not.
They made money.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Not like the.
No, not like today. Granted, it's not the same money because a lot of them, like you said, did have jobs and whatnot. But, they didn't make a lot of money. But gambling is certainly a way to increase the amount of money you made.
Hey, this comment on screen here, without gambling, there's no sports, no pro sports. Sorry to burst the bubble. Do you kind of agree with that? Because I feel like gambling and, people wagering money on these games and playing fantasy and ever, I feel like that's the only thing that's kind of holding up these sports leagues in a lot of ways.
I think it's true.
Yeah.
I mean, the first like gambling scandal in baseball happened, I think, in 1850.
Wow.
I mean,
Oh,
the
I mean,
National League wasn't formed, I think, until
incredible.
1876. But I think the first like known thing was 1850. But I mean, they have record going back to like literally ancient Rome of like the first, the gladiators fixing matches, and like the first Olympics. I think they even had evidence of wrestlers fixing matches in those. So I mean, it's nothing new.
Yeah.
But no, I think gambling is a big reason why people watch. I think that's why the NFL is as huge as it is. I think fantasy football's a huge aspect of why people watch, because why else
Absolutely.
would you watch, Miami play? Where are they playing this? Some terrible team on Thursday night. But I mean, why would you tune in the Miami playing the Browns? I mean,
Right.
it means nothing. There's no excitement. There's no reason to
Right.
watch, but it'll still be one of the highest rated, games of the week because
Sure.
fantasy football, because people are betting on it in several different ways. But yeah,
Sure. Yeah.
gambling is a huge reason why these sports are popular. No doubt.
Right. Do you still follow sports? I'm curious.
No, I
You
mean,
don't?
loosely.
Yeah.
Let's put that. I mean, I used to back in the day, and when I was more writing and involved in this stuff, I paid more attention to it. But since COVID and really my last book came out, no, I really don't. I mean, I'd be hard pressed to name 15 guys in the NBA or the NHL. I could
Yeah.
name some baseball players, I could name football players, but it just doesn't hold the interest for me because I mean, I researched game fixing from the two angles, the gambling aspect and then the idea that these leagues are manipulating their own games. And I don't think and the NFL, the NBA are like professional wrestling where every game is fixed. But I mean, I think anybody with two eyes has seen enough calls go in the favor of Patrick Mahomes that you can't deny that something's going on.
Sure. Yeah.
And if the NFL is dictating these things to happen, then their integrity's gone. So why would you watch?
Sure.
If you know that they're not on the level, and again, I think you can basically see with your own eyes that they're not on the level, why would you watch? The integrity's gone. Once the integrity's gone, there's no reason to watch.
Yeah. Hey, so I know you mentioned the Jordan thing earlier.
Conspiracy.
Yeah.
It's not a conspiracy, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's such an interesting thing to look into. I've definitely haven't looked into as much as you have, but
Well,
I'm curious kind of
here's the thing.
final thoughts on it.
I am 100% sure that Michael Jordan's first retirement was complete nonsense. That he was told by the league to go away and to maybe seek help, whatever. But basically, go away, play baseball, and I'm 100% sure because here's a couple things. I know at least 3 people who knew that this occurred. One of which was a friend of mine whose mom just so happened to be Jerry Reinsdorf, the owner of the Chicago Bulls and White
Yeah.
Sox, his personal secretary.
Wow.
And she was right there for the meetings with Jordan, Stern, and Reinsdorf over Jordan's gambling.
Wow.
And they told him, basically, we can't have you be the next Pete Rose. We're going to set you aside. All the NBA's investigations go away because you're not only the NBA, the face of the NBA, but your McDonald's, your Nike, your Chevrolet, and all these other brands that are putting all this money into our league and into your coffers.
Yeah.
You got to go away. So this will go away. And as soon as he retired, it all went away. But I even heard it from a friend of ours, who had a puppy adopted by one of the Bulls players. I won't say who basically told them at the time that, Michael Jordan had a gambling problem. They had to make him go away for a while.
Wow. Have you ever heard this? Any truth to the rumor that Bill Buckner let the ground ball go through on purpose? I've never heard that.
That's a first. I've never heard that one. That would be an interesting one.
I was curious if you had ever looked into the whole like NBA using magnets, like magnetized rims, and
so
have you ever
love this magnet theory?
This
is a true conspiracy theory in my opinion, but I was told, and I've done zero research into this really,
okay.
but I was told by a guy who used to be an NBA ball boy
Yeah.
that exactly that there's the rims are magnetic. There's like
Yeah.
this magnetic control or something within the ball,
Yeah.
and that they can pull or repel balls toward or away from the rim
Yeah.
because of that magnetic property. And I mean, this was years ago. We told us. I was like, man, I don't know, it seems kind of crazy. But the more I started thinking about it, and the more you see some of these weird shots and things, the hoops on NBA rims are obviously metal. The uprights in field goals in the NFL are metal. The
Mm-hmm.
nets in the NHL are metal.
Mm-hmm.
And if you had magnets in the balls or in the puck, I don't know, can you create that strong of a magnetic field to push or pull these things away or in? And you see some, I don't know what would you call it, the aerodynamics of a football are that's
Yeah.
flying end over end. But how
Yeah.
many times have you seen a football go like,
Oh, a field goal.
yeah, or
Yeah.
be go
Yeah.
like curve back in? It's like, how does that happen? And I've seen
Yeah.
enough. I've seen a few NHL shots where, I mean, there's a famous one. I forget who the goalie is. I think Jonathan Quick, where the puck goes between his legs, head right for the net, and does a 90-degree turn away from the
No
net.
kidding. I haven't seen that.
Yeah, it's
wow.
crazy because nobody can explain what the heck happened there, but it clearly did.
Wow, that's interesting.
So I mean, and they do have footballs and gloves that are magnetic. I mean, you can find this on YouTube, and there's, I think, golf balls as well too.
Yeah.
That you could do that. Where, I mean, you could wing a pass. Somebody with one hand can grab a football, no problem, like Odell Beckham, but it's all magnetized.
Right.
But you can't tell by looking at it.
Right. Yeah, I was going to bring that up because some of these catches, you see the guys making them with one hand. I mean, it's like they barely get a fingertip on, but it sticks out.
Yeah, and then the ball hits them right here, and it goes through, hits them in the face, and bounces away. I mean,
yeah,
like,
yeah. I think the conspiracy theory or whatever is always that the rims are magnetized, and then the balls kind of have like little metal shavings in them, and so that's how they attract the ball.
Well, the interesting thing was, and I'm not 100% sure it's true because again, I never really looked at it, but like if a basketball goes into the stands, you can't keep it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've been told that the same thing is true with the kicking balls in football. That if they go into the stands, you can't keep them.
Really?
If a regular football, because you see guys give them away or sometimes chuck them into the stands, that's fine, but the kicking balls you can't.
Huh.
And again, I don't know if that's actually true, but I've heard it.
Yeah.
From more than one person that's true. And it makes you wonder, well, why not?
Yeah.
What's the difference?
Yeah, I mean,
but if there's something shady about the balls, well, they don't want somebody doing an operation on them and finding out, maybe.
Yeah. Well, you talked about just making, guys marketable, and if you can determine if a ball goes in or not, you can turn anyone into a big superstar.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
so
the more control you have.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So what are do you have any others like off the top of your head from, say, like recent-ish 80s or 90s history that kind of stick out to you as some of, I guess a better question would be just what were some of your favorite stories to kind of research and look into? Were there any that were like more fun than the rest?
Well, I mean, there's to me some of the bigger ones are stuff like Super Bowl III.
Yeah.
Which I think is, and that's the one that, like you say, that guy Bernie Parrish, who wrote the book they call The Game, mentioned. And the more you look at that game, the more weird that game is, because I mean, it meant so much to the league. You had, which I mean, a lot of the NFL fans today, I don't think really know the history of the league, and they don't realize that in the 1960s there were two competing leagues. There was the NFL and the AFL, and the AFL basically became the AFC, and the NFL became the NFC. But there were two competing leagues that literally would fight over draft picks, over college players, and it was costing them both a ton of money. But the NFL was about 3 times as popular as the AFL, because the AFL, which is funny because the AFL, the style of football they play is much like the style of football that's played today. It was a lot of passing, a lot of high-scoring games, and the NFL was more 3 yards and a pile of dust, ground game football type stuff. But the AFL was seen as inferior product because of that. But the leagues decided to merge because of all the problems they were having with draft picks and college players and the excess money that was being spent. But fans at the time weren't exactly excited about it and weren't, again, they thought they were getting all these inferior teams to come into the NFL.
Yeah.
And then the first two Super Bowls where you had the Packers kill the Chiefs and then kill the Raiders kind of proved the fact that, oh my God, the NFL teams are way better than the AFL teams. And I think the owners panicked. And so here you had Super Bowl III where literally the Baltimore Colts, which were the team for the NFL, were literally one of the greatest teams in NFL history.
Yeah.
I mean, their margin of victory, I think, throughout the season was something like 18 points or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they killed everybody. And the Jets were the representatives for the AFL, who are literally the third place team in the AFL. They just happened to win the playoff games to become the team to play in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was like a 16.5 point spread, which you would never see for, a Super Bowl today.
Huge spread. Yeah.
Yeah. And everybody assumed, this game was a foregone conclusion that the Colts were going to kill them. And of course, Joe Namath made his famous guarantee that we win the Super Bowl. And then they went out and won, I think it was 16-7 was the final score. But if you look at it, I mean, the Colts, when they ran the ball, they averaged something like, I think it was 10 yards a rush.
Wow.
But they never ran the ball. Their quarterback kept passing. It was Earl Morrall. Johnny Unitas. It was Earl Morrall.
Yeah.
But Earl Morrall threw like 4 interceptions, including one on a play where it was a flea flicker, which the Colts had run several times. Earl Morrall claimed he couldn't see the receiver, who was wide open, literally waving his arms in the end zone.
Yeah.
And Earl Morrall instead threw it across the middle and it got intercepted.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think you can look at Carol Rosenblum, who's the Colts owner.
Oh, yeah.
Who was really influential, but he also later literally traded the Colts for the Rams.
Yeah.
He traded franchises.
Yeah.
Rosenblum also was paid, I forget what it was, something like $2 million to switch from basically the NFL to the AFL when the merger actually was official. And Rosenblum then later died under mysterious circumstances.
Oh, yeah. I did a full 10 some odd minute video on Kirk. I mean, he is fascinating. He's so fascinating.
But I think he was involved. I think the head coach was Don Shula, or the Colts. I think he was involved, and I think Earl Morrall was involved. I think those three guys were basically directed to throw that game to legitimize the AFL, legitimize the merger, and help basically make everybody make more money.
Yeah, I mean, the rumor was always that Carol Rosenblum had $1 million bet on the game.
Yeah, well, he was known, supposedly he bet on the 58 championship game, which is called the greatest NFL game that ever was played. And allegedly, there was late in the game went into overtime. It was the first championship game that went into overtime. In fact, it was the only championship game, I think, to have gone into overtime until that, was it the Falcons and the Patriots went into overtime a couple years ago in the Super Bowl?
I don't know. Yeah.
I can't remember. But anyway, and in that game, the Colts were literally they were right on the goal. All they do is kick like a 10-yard field goal to win the game.
Yeah.
And a fan ran out onto the field and stopped the play. And some believe that Rosenblum, it was like one of Rosenblum's assistants who ran out into the field. So Rosenblum could tell the head coach, Weeb Eubanks, to score a touchdown because that was going to cover the spread and win Rosenblum his bet on the game. And that's what they did.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, the rumors around Rosenblum were deep and dark and interesting.
Crazy. And, that was his wife who, inherited the team, and Georgia Frontier she became, but she owned the team when Kurt Warner won the title.
And she ripped them out of St. Louis and drove them right back to Los Angeles and made everybody in St. Louis hate them.
Yeah. I'm kind of going off there, a bit of related thing to that, this comment here to the guy.
The blackout game.
The blackout game. Was there anything up with this, or I'm not really sure about this.
I think that's one of the sketchiest things in football history.
Really?
Blackout game. Well, the interesting thing for me, right before that Super Bowl, I was working on a book. I was working on Larceny Games, and I was working on this other book about a completely different subject: national emergencies, continuity of government.
Yeah, I saw you.
Because I was always interested in, the deep underground bases and the government's plans to survive a nuclear war and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And in the process of researching that book, I had gotten a lot of things directly from the government and from Homeland Security that actually mentioned that they were really concerned about like a terrorist attack on a stadium. In fact, they had several scenarios, the government, about a truck bomb being delivered to a stadium and blowing up the stadium, and how would they respond to it. I mean, they had all these scenarios and stuff related to terrorist attacks on sporting events. And then you had the Super Bowl happen where the lights went out.
Yeah.
Right? Now, weeks later, because that took place at the Superdome in Louisiana, which had been rebuilt after Hurricane Katrina.
Yeah.
Later, they said, well, the thing we installed in the Superdome to basically make sure the power doesn't go out was the exact thing that failed and caused the power to go out, which is kind of bizarre.
It is.
But okay. But what really tipped me off that it wasn't an accident was the fact that nobody panicked.
Sure.
Roger Goodell never moved out of his seat. They didn't, the announcers weren't all up in arms. Nobody panicked in that situation. Again, now the NFL, just like all the sports leagues, had to be pretty aware of the Department of Homeland Security, and what they knew and considered were dangerous about having these sporting events and terrorist attacks and what have you. And here, all of a sudden, the entire stadium goes black. All the communications. I mean, I remember listening. It was actually a Super Bowl party driving home, listening to the game, and the whole feed cut out.
Really?
It was gone. Yeah. There was no radio feed. So, I mean, the radio went out, the television went out. They all went out. They all went dark. And again, nobody panicked. Nobody was like freaking out. What's going on? And that, to me, was the thing that tipped me off that something else happened there. I'm not sure what, but it wasn't just oops. It was something.
Interesting. This is an interesting. I've never heard of like baseball juicing balls for specific players. Have you ever? Yeah. I mean, I've obviously heard of the balls being juiced, but I've never heard of like specific balls being used on just specific guys that are juiced.
Well, I don't remember the exact details, to be honest, off the top of my head, but
yeah,
there was evidence. How much evidence, I'm not sure, but evidence that some of the balls that they used in Yankees games for Aaron Judge were different than other baseballs.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I mean, when Rob Manfred became the commissioner of Major League Baseball, and I forget what year it was, baseball's popularity was waning. And literally in his introduction speech, he said something to the effect of, we need more home runs because fans love home runs, drives up scoring, it gets people excited.
Yeah.
And literally from the time he said that, the number of the home runs in the league skyrocketed.
Wow.
And at the same time, you had several pitchers come out and say, these baseballs don't feel like baseballs used to. They're like slicker.
Yeah.
The seams don't feel the same. They're not as high. And if you look into it, what it is it may not necessarily be that the baseballs internally are different, though that could very well be the case.
Yeah.
But externally, they definitely are.
Sure.
And what it is when you manufacture a baseball, there's tolerances. Like there's tolerances in a lot of things. But if you make baseballs here, they don't fly as far. But if you make baseballs on this end of the tolerance level, they fly further. Well, baseball just started making the baseballs on this side of the, tolerance level. Yeah. And they started hitting more home runs. But Major League Baseball could say, well, we didn't do anything. All our baseballs are within our normal tolerances and guidelines. Yeah. And manufacturers are making them the way we expect them to be made. But they don't tell you about the tolerance thing. And they don't tell you that a little bit of fraction difference on the seams means baseballs don't spin the same way. The pitchers can't throw them the same way, but they fly farther out of the park. And lo and behold, again, from the minute Manfred said that, the number of home runs in the league skyrocketed.
Interesting. So how did they supposedly do was like the ump-in on it? Like how did they specifically?
That's the thing I don't recall. I think that was part of it, though, is just certain balls were put into play at certain times. I mean, there's the whole thing with Colorado, the Colorado Rockies and playing in the Mile High Stadium, that they have balls that they keep in a humidor or something like that, supposedly so they don't fly as far or whatever. But again, that's doctrine of baseball in and of itself right there. But if you had balls
yeah.
that weren't in the humidor that were put into the game, well, maybe they leave the park. I mean, it's just a matter, who can tell? And I'm sure even an umpire, if you go, here's 3 baseballs and he grabs one and throws one, I don't know if he could tell the difference between the 3. But, if that's the juice baseball, there it goes.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting. I think I saw you post something on Twitter about this, like the sensors that they're using now and in football for first down.
Oh, the first downs.
It's
Yeah.
it's strange. I mean, I don't really follow the NFL very closely, so I'm a big college fan, but
Football is the one thing I'll kind of watch because
Yeah.
a lot of times just have it on the background. And my wife, sadly, is a Green Bay Packer fan, which I can't get over. But it's funny because I haven't watched a lot of football, but I watched some football this year, and I've only seen I forget what they call it. They don't have the chain gang come out anymore.
Yeah,
because that's gone, which I didn't really realize until about 2 weeks ago. I'm like, I haven't seen those guys like once. But they have these video assisted measurements now because there's chips in the football. Can't have magnets supposedly in there, but there's chips in the football. That'll tell them whether it's like a first down or not. And last night in the game, the Redskins looked like they had a first down, but the digital assist replay for the measurement says they were 5 inches short.
Wow. Huh.
Which is great. But I said, how do you know where the 10 yards was?
Sure, yeah.
I mean, if you're watching at home, they go, oh, he's 5 inches short. Great. Yeah, but I never saw where you originally marked it. So,
that matters. Oh, yeah, that totally matters.
Could it be, what if the chip's in only one end of the football? And, if in the football had been flipped the other way, he was a first down. But
sure,
if it's flipped this way, he's 5 inches. I mean, I don't know because the NFL has not been very forthcoming and open about these measurements or what they're doing. They just say, trust us.
Yeah.
But I don't think anybody really trusts them. And I always make that point for people who think, there's no way the NFL will fix games, blah, blah, blah. If there's an instant replay, right? Somebody touchdown, maybe not a touchdown. We don't know. Catch, maybe not a catch.
Yeah.
Why can't we hear what the officials are saying with the home office in New York?
Sure, yeah.
That would be compelling, wouldn't it?
It would, yeah.
Instead of listening to Troy Aikman go, well, I think it's a catch because of blah, blah. Here you could hear the official, hear the people in New York, and you could hear them supposedly talking about the rules.
Yeah.
And why they determined this is a catch or not a catch. Instead, we can't hear any of it.
Yeah.
And then they just make a proclamation.
Well, I always loved those, like when they just mic up players and you just kind of hear them chat. Like, it's just entertaining to me.
Oh, yeah, because it is interesting what they'll talk about. But something like that, why wouldn't the NFL turn that on?
Yeah, that would be really neat.
Well, I think there's a real reason why they don't turn it on. Is
they don't want
you to know.
Exactly.
Because they put their finger on the scales of justice and they get the result they want.
Yeah. I thought this was, I know you've talked a bit about like baseball games being fixed, and I think it's like the 97 World Series. Like, it's like the craziest case of like an umpire calling balls and strikes. I think it was Juan Hernandez, maybe, was it?
Was it Angel Hernandez?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like it was a Marlins Braves game.
Yeah. And
I did see the strike zone was non-existent.
It was unbelievable. Yeah, I mean, it was just incredible. And I did see how, I think this is true, right? That baseball is using the automated ball and strike system. Or they can or batters can challenge balls and strikes.
I've heard that, but I don't know if I've seen it, and I'm not sure it's actually active in the World Series.
I don't think it's active.
I think it's coming.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's fully here. But again, it's one of those things where you can only challenge like one.
Yeah. But they are kind of, interestingly, it seems like it's kind of becoming a little more difficult to
they had a bizarre play in the game last night. Early in the game, I think the Blue Jays were at bat, and they had a runner on first. And the Blue Jay batter was certain the last pitch was ball 4. And so he kind of stepped out, because I think it was a full count.
Yeah.
He stepped out of the batter's box and started to take off his, shin guard or whatever. And the guy who was on first base started walking towards second. And the umpire blatantly called it strike 3. And the batter looked at him like, what? And then the catcher threw it down to first base, and they tagged the guy out at first base. They got a double play out of it because the umpire was like, here's the pitch. Guy starts taking off his stuff. Strike 3. It's like, whoa, dude, you can't be calling strike 3 like 3 minutes later.
Yeah.
But that's what he did, and it cost the Blue Jays big.
Huh.
But I mean, it's that sort of weirdness, all these subjective calls and plays that can be made that can change the outcome of a game. I mean, that's a lot of people don't think, baseball can be fixed by an umpire, but balls and strikes are huge.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's, if you call just a couple pitches a ball that should have been a strike, or a couple of balls strikes, and vice versa, you put pressure either on the hitter or you put pressure on the pitcher.
Sure.
And that's enough to change the game. I mean, granted, you can't throw a penalty flag when it's a home run, but if you put enough pressure on one team over the other by just some narrow balls and strike calls, it can really change things around.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Do you think baseball would be easier than football to fix, or
no?
Football's the easiest.
Well, because football, if you could do it, you could do it through the officials.
Yeah.
And one gambler told me he could fix any football game you wanted with 3 players.
Really?
If you give me a quarterback, an offensive lineman, and a defensive back on one team, I can give you any game you want.
Really?
And I really think you could almost do it with an offensive lineman alone.
Yeah.
If you have one offensive lineman, a false start here, a holding penalty there, miss a block here or there, you could just implode an offense with one bad offensive lineman's play, and that might be all it takes.
Yeah.
Wouldn't necessarily be perfect, but I think it'd be enough to alter the outcome. Sure.
Yeah.
Same with basketball. You get one guy in basketball, you own 20% of the team.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you've seen like the Terry Rozier, guy who got busted, like the compilations. I mean, it's just like so blatant, like just throwing the ball to the other team and launching.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is that he almost made it obvious, but nobody. I mean, a couple of people were like, "Man, it seems really weird," but it's almost like not obvious enough.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's the funny thing is, I mean, if you go back, there's this guy named Lefty Rosenthal. If you ever seen the movie Casino, the character of Ace Rothstein, played by Robert De Niro, it's the life story of this Lefty Rosenthal, who's a real guy.
Yeah.
And Lefty was known in the 50s for fixing games.
Okay.
And a lot of like college basketball and football games. One of the things, supposedly, 2 of the things that Lefty supposedly did, because he's based out of Chicago, is one time, and it's debatable which team it was, but somebody like Michigan came in to play Northwestern, and Lefty basically invited the Michigan team out for dinner, who were favorites in that game.
Yeah.
He gave them all food poisoning.
Really?
And bet heavily on Northwestern, and Northwestern won the game. Yeah.
No kidding.
But one of the other things that Lefty used to do, because he was fixing college basketball games, is he would have players practice missing layups, so they look realistic when they missed. Unlike Rozier, who no bad pass, but that's what he used to do.
That's interesting. Do you ever talk about UFC in any of your books, or is that kind of
a little bit in the fix? Excuse me, the fix is still in. The thing to me, UFC is the same as boxing.
Yeah,
and boxing has been corrupt for well over 100 years.
Yeah.
So for anybody to think the UFC is 100% on the up and up while boxing's rigged is insane.
Yeah,
or naive, or willfully ignorant.
I'm sure UFC is the same way, where you can just bet on, so many things. I don't really follow UFC, but it does seem like the UFC fighters, most of them just have really short careers. Like they're in the limelight for 5-10 major matches, and then that's it.
Same with boxers. Yeah. I mean, there's a few exceptions. I mean, obviously, Mike Tyson wandered around for a while, George Foreman.
Yeah.
But one of the guys I found was this guy. I can't think of his first name. His last name is Farrell. What's his last name? Anyway, he was a manager of 5 different world champions at one point in time in boxing. Charles Farrell, that's his name. He wrote a book called Low Life. But Farrell says he fixed hundreds of boxing matches. Hundreds.
Really?
He doesn't even know how many. And he said everybody does it. Because what happens is if you ever see like a big fight where, the challenger comes in and he's 25-1 with 22 knockouts, chances are like those 22 knockout fights were all fixed fights.
Well,
Because what it is, he said, his managers can tell talent. They can see
yeah,
it like that.
yeah,
And if you got a talented fighter, the last thing you want him to do is get beaten up on his way to a title fight. So what you do is you work with other managers who have a stable of boxers as well, and you say, "Hey, I got a guy who needs 4 rounds worth of work. To get somebody who could give me 4 rounds." They go, "Sure." Basically, they fix the fight. The guy will get a knockout in the 4th round. Bing, bang, boom. There you go. And so they build these fighters up until they get to the big matches. Then they don't necessarily fix the big matches. They let those go as, chips fall where they may.
Mhm.
But they've fixed all these preliminary fights all the way up the ladder because that's how they build up these guys' records. And I'm sure it's the same thing in the UFC.
Yeah,
You have, and I've seen it. I mean, I've seen some, not necessarily UFC fights, but I've seen some MMA fights. I was at an event not too long ago where it was like a heavyweight fight, and here came in one fighter who would look like he just, got out of the Golden Corral, eating a buffet, and the other guy who looked, more ripped than, The Rock in his prime.
yeah,
Guess who won?
Yeah.
It wasn't even a fight. I mean, it was like, come on, seriously? This is like a legit fight, but that's supposedly what it was. But I mean, to think this kind of stuff doesn't happen in the UFC or wouldn't happen in the UFC, I think is, again, just being
Sure.
naive. Because you got to do the same thing. Why would you have somebody, get beat up unnecessarily when you can build up the record in this kind of shady way, but still kind of legitimate through the history of fighting, and then have them fight for real in the championship fights? Although I still think championship fights have been fixed as well. I mean, it's historical fact too, but
Yeah. Yeah, a couple people have mentioned Deflategate in the comments. Do you talk about that much, or
no,
have you-
because I didn't find that to be.
Yeah, I was wondering if it was like bigger than I remembered, because I don't remember it. I mean, I remember the details, but
I think what Deflategate really boiled down to, because they punished Brady, and I forgot what his punishment actually was. But that was at a time right before the league signed its new collective bargaining agreement with the players. And I think Deflategate and the NFL punishing Tom Brady was literally about the NFL saying, our biggest star is Tom Brady. We'll punish Tom Brady. Don't any of you think you're bigger than we are. And I
oh,
think that's what Deflategate really boiled down to. I mean, where the
interesting.
football's deflated, who cares? I mean, really, you think
Yeah.
that makes a big difference? No. But
Yeah,
I think when the league says we'll punish Tom Brady, the guy who's already at the time had won, 4 or 5 Super Bowls.
sure.
Yeah, I think that sends a message.
Yeah. Yeah, when you mentioned Tyson earlier, it got me thinking of that fight that he did with Jake Paul
Oh my
a couple
God.
months ago.
Ugh.
And it seems like this is starting to become a thing where you get like these well-known athletes, and they put on like these almost like an exhibition match. Like
Well,
it's not a
that's what that
professional thing or
was.
anything like that. But it seems like this is kind of like becoming a thing. There's like an NBA league with like a bunch of not washed up guys, but guys that were in like their 40s and 50s. The 3-on-3 league is, and I don't know.
Senior
I just
PGA Tour.
yeah. I just found the
It's a way
whole
to make.
Tyson Jake Paul thing. I just found that so weird, and I mean, they did it like broke records for viewership and
Well,
stuff like
because
that.
I think most people want to see Mike Tyson pound that dude's head in. And I
Yeah,
think Mike Tyson was paid to specifically not pound that dude's head in. And I
right.
think it showed. I mean, I think like a lot of people, I saw enough of those training videos of Tyson before the fight being like, wow, that old guy can still throw the leather big time. And then
Yeah,
you didn't see a lick of that in that fight. And people are like, well, Tyson was afraid and he was tentative. I'm like, whoa, no. Mike Tyson is one thing. He's not afraid or tentative.
yeah,
That ain't him. And that's exactly what he looked like that fight. And I think everybody was like, look, we're making millions of dollars, man. Let's take
yeah.
it easy here. And that's
Well, this
what they
is
did.
interesting. I don't know if this is the case or not, but do they get out of the legality of fixing the fight by listing it as an exhibition?
In a way, yeah. I think it's a very
Yeah,
roundabout way of doing it.
huh,
Yeah. I mean,
interesting.
that's the thing. I mean, one thing which we never mentioned, but one of the things I like to bring up is it's not illegal for like a league like the NFL to fix its own games.
Oh, it's
There's no
not
law
okay.
that's broken.
Yeah.
I mean, there's two. I mentioned the Sports Bribery Act from 1964, but that is literally about bribing someone to throw a game, shave points, whatever. And if the
Yeah.
NFL's fixing games, they're not doing that. And the other thing that comes close is the quiz show scandal law from the 1950s, but that says you can't fix an intellectual contest, for television purposes or whatever. But obviously, the NBA, the NFL, they're not intellectual contests. So the closest thing that could be fraud. But one of the Jets fan, who happened to be a lawyer, sued the NFL and the New England Patriots over Spygate. And long story short, the court basically said, look, when you buy a ticket for an NFL game, all the NFL has to do is put on a football game.
Yeah.
As long as they do that, they fulfill their obligation to you. They don't have to follow any specific rules. Certain players don't have to play. As long as they put on a football game or some semblance of a football game, that's all they need to do. So it's not even fraud if the league fixed its own game.
Okay.
So, and which is why I think, Mark Cuban, when he was the prime owner of Dallas Mavericks, literally said twice in public, once on the Dan Patrick Show, and once I think it was on Dr. J's podcast, that he told his team it's in their best interest to lose.
Yeah.
Those are fixed games. I don't understand why nobody can comprehend this.
Yeah.
But if the owner of the team says it's in our best interest to lose, that message goes to the general manager, it goes to the coaches, it goes to the players. They go out and lose games. That is the exact definition of a league fixing its own game. And guess what? They didn't discount tickets. They didn't discount parking. They didn't discount hot dogs. They paid 100% for all those things to go see those fixed games. Mark Cuban didn't bat an eye.
Huh. Is this true that the Mavs are owned by a casino owner now? Miriam Adelson?
I think so, yeah. I know Cuban, it's not
okay.
Cuban anymore. I forget who the
Okay,
actual owner is.
gotcha.
But then, of course, they trade away their best player to the Lakers. And
See, I think that
they get the number one draft pick.
Yeah, I mean, about something that's really suspicious.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And again, people just go, "Oh no, they have a lottery system now," and it's it's their league. That's what another thing I don't comprehend. That sports fans don't seem to get. It's the owner's league. It's not Roger Goodell. It's not Adam Silver. The owners own the league. They put Goodell in that position to be the heel. So none of the heat is on the owners. It's on Roger Goodell, and Roger Goodell will play that role until the day he dies if he can. But it's the owners' league. They'll do whatever they want. And if they want to fix the draft lottery so Cooper Flagg winds up on Dallas after Dallas ships Donick to the Lakers, guess what? They'll do it. They'll do it right in your face, and you as a fan could do absolutely nothing about it.
Yeah.
Just suck it up.
I mean, there's a lot of those games. Right. Yeah, there's a lot of those kind of conspiracies involving the NBA draft lottery specifically.
But again, is it a conspiracy? I mean, it's kind of blatant. It's kind of right in your face. I mean,
blatant.
That's my biggest thing is I don't believe in coincidences. I don't believe in coincidences, especially when billions of dollars are attached to it.
Sure.
That's a motive. And again, when I could prove there's no law against the leagues fixing its own games, fixing these outcomes, then why wouldn't they do it? I always make the mention, if McDonald's tomorrow found a food additive that they could pump into their hamburgers that was 100% legal, that made the hamburgers taste better with every bite, McDonald's would put that in their hamburgers tomorrow.
Sure.
That's exactly what these leagues can do. They can manipulate the games. They can keep them interesting into the fourth quarter and overtime or whatever, do it 100% legally. They're a multi-billion-dollar business attached to other multi-billion-dollar businesses, which happen to be the media and places like Nike and Under Armour and everyone else. So everybody else is profiting. Why do you think they don't do it?
Right.
You believe in their integrity? You really believe in their integrity? Because if you don't, then guess what?
Yeah. Well, cool, man. We're at about an hour. I know that's what we said we'd probably stick to. Do you got anything else you want to add or chat about?
No, I mean, I think we've hit most of the highlights. I mean,
yeah. I'm really curious to see how this whole Chauncey Billups, Rozier, Gibson, or whatever his name is.
I don't think this is over.
Yeah.
I think there's more to come. Which really, that's the only part of it that kind of excites me because I want to see what's next.
Yeah,
I mean, I already had what's his name? What's that guy's name? Pablo Torre. He's put out there, which I'm, it's kind of slanderous on his part or libelous. I forget which it would be, but he put out there that he thinks Antonio Gates, former San Diego Charger tight end, was involved in this too.
Oh wow.
Yeah, which would be a huge thing because the NFL hasn't been touched by it yet.
Huh.
But he put that out there, not me. Don't come after me for this one because maybe Pablo's right, maybe he's not. But he already put that out
there. Were
there.
other, I mean, these guys hang out, off the court. Like someone's hosting a poker event like that. You got to think that there's not just the one guy showing up with a bunch of gangsters. He's bringing, some of his teammates or former teammates.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
yeah, I think there's going to be more coming down the pike soon.
Well, cool, man. Well, maybe I'll have you on again if some huge development happens over the next couple of weeks, and we can chat some more.
Yeah, I'll be around.
Cool, man. All right. Well, thanks so much, Brian. It was great chatting with you.
No problem. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.
You have a good night.
You too. Bye-bye.